Alright, I want to have a discussion about Bigfoot and barred owls. Because I've been here for a week, like right here in this spot. It's a great little spot. And it's in a Bigfoot county. But I've had a couple of crazy barred owl nights. And so I've learned something, and so I wanted to share that with you guys and sort of talk about some opinions I've formed from me learning more about barred owls by experiencing it. I'm familiar with the atypical barred owl call that everyone is familiar with. Sort of the, whoop, 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 woo thing, that is a very common sound that they make. And so, people say, well, I know what a barred owl sounds like. It's not, I could tell if it's something, that wasn't no barred owl or whatever. They're talking about that call that they can clearly, you can tell what that's a barred owl if it's 50 feet up in a tree, sort of near your campsite. Like it is pretty clear. Like, that's a barred owl. But like I said, I had a couple of crazy barred owl nights, man, where they were just going nuts, and so I really got to experience different things. So the first thing is that their range of calls, the diversity is very wide. It's got to be 30 plus different vocalizations that they make, and those vocalizations are very diverse, man. They don't even sound like again, the atypical barred owl call that everybody's familiar with. So one night, I heard two of them calling to each other, and it was moving. The calls kept moving and kept moving, and they both ended up over here in this tree line about 100 yards away. That's across a field. So I got like all this open air, about 100 yards open air across this field right here to the campsite. And man, it sounded like they were on the same branch, just squawking at each other. It was crazy. I took some video of it, and I might roll it in. But so I started hearing some way different vocalizations when that happened. And one of them, one sounded just really weird, even at 100 yards with all this open air. Again, I knew they were barred owls, but I'm starting to realize some of the weird sounds that they can make. And actually, the first night I was here, like I was woken up at like 4 a.m. by what to me sounded like whoops, like from like the kind of I can't even describe it, but because every time if I try and vocalize it, it'll sound like an owl, which is funny. But like Wes used to use it in his intro to Chronicles, and it sounded so much like that, and it woke me up, and I was like, what the hell is that? Because it was pretty close. That freaked me out, man, because that sounded way too close to some like Bigfoot supposed vocalizations I've heard, and it was a barred owl. And I was kind of, out of it, lucid, but I'm hearing this and not understanding what I'm hearing, and I tell you, my mind, shifted more towards Bigfoot than it did barred owl. But that was just the first night. That was the very first night I'm here, and And so as I got acclimated and then had my crazy barred owl nights, this is what I've discovered, is pretty much this. It's simple. You know, it's one thing to have one sitting right here, or even over there 100 yards away, and all this open space. But man, when they get out into where the thickness of the forest and the thickness of the canopy, and you've got some kind of vertical terrain near you, which most campsites do, then if they're 200-300 yards out there and they're doing their different kinds of calls, it sounded like I was surrounded by chimpanzees or monkeys. That's exactly what it sounded like. And again, at this point, I had got acclimated to these sounds and some of the diverse calls up close. And I'm recognizing them off in the distance, and there's, again, 200-300 yards away. They're elevated, they're up in trees, so they're projecting through the thick canopy, and shit's reverberating, you know, with the sounds are reverberating with themselves. And yeah, it sounded like I was surrounded by fucking monkeys, man. Like, for real. But I knew they were barred owls, so I could discern that. There was a couple times I kind of went, what the, you know, but I'd listen closer and I could start discerning the barred owl calls, because again, I've heard them up closer and more clear. And so that was a light bulb moment for me. I mean, it was a learning moment, but it was a big light bulb moment when it comes to Bigfoot. And I the next day, man, I really put a lot of thought into that. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, people are misinterpreting these sounds for Bigfoot at a way higher percentage than I think anybody thinks. But I think that. I mean, that percentage just of misidentification just went like, you know, like way up. Way high. And I think that's what's going on. Is not completely what's going on. I'm not saying that people have never heard Bigfoot actually vocalize, but I think that most of it is people are out in the woods, they have Bigfoot on the brain, and they're just fooling themselves with these sounds that made me kind of do that, you know, made me take pause and go, what the hell am I hearing, you know? And then, but because I'm, you know, not out here with Bigfoot on the brain or banging on trees or doing my own whoops, then it was easy for me to discern. No, that's definitely a barred owl, you know. And I'm not gonna touch the Bigfoot imitating barred owl stuff. No thanks. Let's just leave that right over here in Crazy Town where it belongs. So I think that's what's going on. I think, you know, to some degree, again, a higher percentage than I would have thought, you know, coming into this, is that people are hearing barred owls and maybe other wildlife too, because the same rules apply. It's like, oh yeah, this sounds like, oh, clearly this is a fox or whatever, right? I mean, just pick your animal that vocalizes or has strange vocalizations, especially. When it's right here next to camp, that's very clear. But things change if it gets 200 or 300 yards away and it's elevated and you can hear it, and things change at a distance. And the barred owls showed that to me. No, literally, the barred owls came to me and sat around my camp, and mine spoke to me that that's, what's happening. So they showed it to me. And so I think that's what's going on with a lot of people that say they're hearing Bigfoot vocalizations in the woods. Is that they're misidentifying the sound, or they're fooling themselves. I just think there's a lot of that going on. So I wanted to share that because it's been on my mind, and that's what I do. I share things that are on my mind, Bigfoot related. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll see what happens next. I might roll some more content in, or just kind of leave this one where it's at. You're about to find out.